Hey there, hi, how are you? I'm the Geek with the Gab, here with the utmost dignity and, let's face it, embarrassingly good fashion sense, to say, please, Mr. Critic, please, I'll do anything you want. Anything at all, just give me a job. I'll even review the ingredients on a bottle of Cheese Whiz. Milk, whey, soybean oil, whey protein. At this rate, they're going to have more characters than The Hobbit. At least that's what I would be saying. I didn't think that you devilishly good-looking fella, you weren't above such petty pleas. So I'm here to offer you flattery, cash rewards, and physical favors. That's right, I will take out your trash and or do the dishes up to 2, count them, 2 times. So, we cool? Oh, okay, I know how it is. I have to offer up some of the goods so you know exactly what I'm all about, you know. Boss-employee kind of relations thing. So, what I have done just for you is I have taken a dive into that compost heap that is movie-licensed video games to bring you something fabled, something thought lost to the ages since the 8-bit era. I have found you a movie-licensed video game that is pretty alright. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the surprisingly non-shittiness that is X-Men Origins Wolverine. Really, the most impressive part of this game is how much ass it kicks, given how bland, boring, and forgettable the movie it's based on was. A lot of this comes from a large portion of the game focusing on something the movie just glanced over, the military operation Logan was a part of in Africa. The game takes the time to settle in and really show us that this wasn't just a quick in-and-out job. There's lots of hunting, hack-and-slash quests, and it does the great job of utilizing earpiece communications to show us the growing tensions between the crew members, especially Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth. This, interspersed with what takes up most of the movie, the events immediately surrounding the Weapon X experiment, creates a surprisingly compelling narrative. The game actually starts off in more of an X-Men Days of Future Past setting, with elite military units trying to hunt down our favorite furry buzzsaw. He, of course, quickly introduces them to exactly what he does best, and a big difference from the movie quickly becomes apparent. Let's see if you can spot it. Yeah, it's just a shade more graphic, isn't it? I mean, I'm not saying that every single game has to be at the goriness level of the remake of Evil Dead, but some games just lend themselves to lots of gore. And the story of how a nice, polite Canadian lad turns into an unstoppable killing machine just kind of fits the bill. So we get Wolvie getting shot up, not giving a fuck, and sticking the bad guys with a pointy end when we get our second surprise of the game.
I'm the best there is at what I do. At least the people still living after I'm done doing it say that.
Yeah, it's actually Hugh Jackman, and he actually sounds good. I mean, not just decent, he sounds good. Every single grunt, growl, and grumble is infused with the passion that Jackman has brought to the role since 1999. I mean, when you compare him to someone like Ron Perlman as Hellboy, they made the movie.
I wish I could do something about this.
And then they made the game.
Are you trying to make me look bad?
I have a feeling I'm going to be revisiting that one sometime soon. Anyways, good actors, and Ron Perlman is a good actor, don't always make the translations to video games very well. So good on you, Hugh Jackman. We appreciate you and the damn you clearly gave for this video game. Moving on, we go from the not-too-distant future to the not-too-distant past, where, after a brief intro, Logan goes for a surprise bit of skydiving, landing on some poor, unsuspecting bastard who is probably just 2 days from retirement. As our hero climbs out of the crater he just created, we get our first taste of gameplay. It's fluid and smooth, with just a touch unsurprising. It's really almost identical to God of War, with light attack, heavy attack, jump, and grab in the exact same place. It's your typical hack-and-slash control scheme, but it's typical for a reason. It works, and it feels great. A new addition to the controls is the lunge ability, where you can deliver a devastating attack to a distant enemy. It easily changes into follow-up attacks and is total fun. Seriously, the first time I played this game, I spent the first few big firefights lunging from one enemy to another until there was nary a fucker left for me to lunge to. It really does tie together fights with widely scattered enemies extremely well. In a game like God of War, if you have enemies this scattered, you just run from one enemy to the other, get into one, delivering a few weak shots, killing them, and then running to the next one. It can get exhausting. Or at least as exhausting as a non-Wii game is going to get. So Wolverine tracks down the charred remains of his transport by way of toppling an ancient wall.
Kituo, chukua.
Seriously, nameless minion? A wall just topples around you. You're lucky enough to survive, and you decide to stand there screaming to see what falls next? Surprise! It's an angry Canadian. Dreams do come true. Anyways, back with the living. Wolverine gets an earpiece from the dead pilot and finds out from Colonel Stryker that the rest of his team managed to parachute to safety. Odd, considering how sudden and severe the missile strike was, but whatever. They're mutants. Stranger things have happened. Seriously though, look at that. I mean, it's a good hit. Sure, the mutants with teleportation and healing factor survive, but the rest... You know what? If I start analyzing who should and shouldn't be dead in a comic book adaptation, I'm gonna be here all day. So Stryker orders Logan to meet up with his brother at a temple to blow clear to Hellengon for no apparent reason. Explosions look cool, and they make for good pictures on the back of the box. Come to think of it, it takes a really long time to find out what the exact purpose of this mission is. I mean, yeah, it's cool that they add depth to the characters and whatnot, but if the movie did one thing right, it's keeping the purpose of the mission at the forefront. So you hack, and slash, and gut, and debone, and... Jesus Christ, they really went all out on the creative kills on this sumbitch, didn't they? Seriously, I'm not doing anything special here. This is just run-of-the-mill gameplay. You even rammed some guy's head into a helicopter. While it's still on. Don't believe me? Here it is! You do that 4 or 5 times throughout the course of the game. But anyways, while you've been doing nasty things, Victor has not been sitting idly. You get to the temple only to be informed that he's already planted the C4 and hightailed it out of there. Great communication on this top-secret military operation, huh? Couldn't someone have gotten him that information a bit more quickly? I mean, Victor has a communication device. We see it in the next level.
Somehow I think you'd be a little more thorough if it was your ass out here. You got a problem how I do my job, Creed?
He honestly couldn't have just said, "Hey bro, that place is gonna go boom soon. Don't go there." But I guess I can't complain too much, because after he gets out of the exploding place, it leads directly into a fight upriver on boat that is 10 times cooler than anything in the movie. So after all the boats go boom, despite the fact that you don't actually have to hit them anywhere near the engine, which presumably is where all the boomy stuff is, we're treated to a cutscene of Victor and Logan doing their thing. One of the things that I love about this game is the cutscenes. Not only are they beautifully animated, more so than this game has any right to be, but one of my pet peeves is when a main character in a game will suddenly learn all these moves in a cutscene and then promptly forget about them afterwards. Here, everything that's done in the cutscene is doable in the game. Sure, it might be a bit more stylized, but all of the basic mechanics are there. We jump from this heartwarming scene of sibling bonding to several years in the future. Wolverine and his sweetie are out for a midnight stroll to the local bar. Let it never be said that he's not a romantic. When he picks up a familiar scent, he tells his better half to run. Yeah, she has a name, but it's not worth listening. She's as good as dead already. He enters the bar to confront the source of the dangerous stink, his darling brother, whom he was just fighting alongside one scene ago. There's a lot of that in this game, more so than in the movie, where they just ask you to trust them, that the past and future storylines are going to meet up in the end and make sense. So the loving family resolves their petty, non-defined differences the way that things are always solved at every single family reunion I've ever been to. With at least one death, lots of blood, and the government getting involved. I swear, if I had a nickel. Stryker pops his head in all too late, conveniently offering a highly experimental procedure that will give Logan just the edge he needs to brutally slaughter his brother. This is the part of the game and movie that have always kind of bothered me a little bit. Now, I'm not completely ignorant when it comes to comic books, but the origins of Wolverine has always been just a touch intimidating for me. I do know, however, he's not a dumb guy. He's pretty smart. So how is it that he doesn't put two and two together that Stryker just happens to show up with this experimental procedure that will just happen to give him the edge to slaughter his brother, who just happened to show up for the first time in years? You think they might be working together? Shit, by this time in the movie I didn't even care anymore and I could still tell that something stank to high heaven. So of course Logan goes along with it because of plot, though that really never stopped the movies, did it? The procedure is, of course, a rousing success. Which means that Stryker, of course, after spending millions, if not billions of dollars to irreversibly bond an inconceivably rare metal to the bones of the only living creature that they know of who could survive such an ordeal, he of course tells his men to kill him. God, that just seems like busy work, doesn't it? But Logan, having those pesky heightened senses that of course his commanding officer has to know about...
He's telling the truth.
Shut it, Logan. You don't speak the language.
No, but I can smell a lie.
Of course manages to overhear the conversation.
The operation was a success, but he can't be trusted. We have his DNA for Weapon 11. Terminate him.
Shit, Stryker might as well have said that he looks fat in those government-issued black shorty shorts he has to wear. Logan doesn't take it well, in the way only Wolverine cannot take something well. Which of course means hundreds die as a result. On his aimless romp through the cheery gray corridors, we're introduced to a character by the name of Wendigo. Now, if I know one thing about comic books, it's that they know how to put a woman together. Seeing as the game has been painfully low on living, breathing eye candy, I can't wait to see what this Wendy has to offer. I may never be aroused again. No, this is the hideous beast known as the Wendigo. In the comics, it's kind of like a Canadian werewolf, in that you turn into it by like eating a box of Timbits underneath an ancient maple tree by the light of a full moon, or something like that. As I said before, I have some gray areas when it comes to comic books, but anyways. Here in the game, it's been changed to a military experiment called the Wendigo, the letters. That stands for Weaponized Experiment Neurodendra... You know what? Wendigo works. Logan, of course, makes short work of the nasty beastie, only to find out that, in a rare act for a government organization, they actually thought ahead. Logan quickly finds himself at the mercy of a toxin he was infected with during the procedure, should he decide to go on some kind of mass homicidal hissy fit that strips him of his feral senses and regenerative ability. Fortunately for our hero, a doctor who works at the facility contacts him through FaceTime to covertly inform the murderous one that she's sick of her employees and their terrible experiments on mutants. Wow, the ship's kind of sailed on that one, don't you think, lady? Anyways, she wants to help Logan get his powers back, and tells him exactly where to meet her. Because a government organization has never monitored the communications of their employees, have they? Smart going, scientist lady. So Logan sneaks his way to their rendezvous point to find the lady, waiting there, completely safe. Yeah, actually the whole thing goes off pretty smoothly, giving him his powers back. So, dangerous mutant, running around, trying to escape, and the directors didn't think to monitor to see if anyone was trying to help him. They got the workings of a dumbass bureaucratic organization down pat. To the game's continuing credit, this level does a brilliant job building the atmosphere. While in the movie, Logan just kills a few people and escapes, the game makes it feel like an actual effort is required to escape from a top-secret military installation where dangerous experiments are going on. With the escalation from regular grunts to elite soldiers to the Wendigos, it does create the sense that everything but the kitchen sink is being thrown at you. And the constant radio chatter about Logan's whereabouts, mixed in with Stryker's pleas over the intercom that he surrender, gives a very real impression that you are witnessing a military operation gone wrong. Even as the level closes, Stryker orders the flooding of the spillway, ensuring the death of many of his men. What follows is a surprisingly tense and stylish escape. Back in Africa, Wraith informs Logan there are 3 towers in the area that are artificially extending the plot. This is where the comms kind of take a front seat, lending a dimension to the game that the movie failed to grasp. Here we get radio chatter that really shines a light on the growing tensions between Victor and the rest of his crew, as well as shows some of the interactions between the crew and Wolverine. It doesn't seem like much, but it gently introduces the differences between Logan and Victor and makes that sibling rivalry make that much more sense. So Logan climbs the tower, zaps the big plot device, falls down, bumps his head, and we're back in the frozen tundra. An old buddy from Africa, David Nord, aka Agent Zero, suffering from an odd case of whitewashing here, is on Logan's tail. Seriously, video game? I mean, seriously? It's a video game. You can make him look like whatever you want. You couldn't have made him look a little bit more like the character? At least make him the same race. Anyways, Nord in this game has a little personality beside liking to shoot stuff. Oh, so you can get that right, but his basic looks, that's too complicated. Wolverine makes short work of him, leaving a trail of dead henchmen in his wake in a fairly generic romp. Don't get me wrong, it's as fun as ever to grind your way through increasingly big enemies with those claws. That sounded slightly psychotic. But there's nothing new or terribly exciting here. Honestly, every time I play through this game, as I have several times, I'm surprised at how long it goes on. There's nothing bad here, it just never gets too far above or below a thoroughly meh kind of level. I can't even really pinpoint why it's not memorable. I mean, Wolverine blows himself up with a chunk of C4 and a truck. It might be that things never really seem to let up. Most levels have calm moments to offset the action. The African missions have the puzzles and communications. The Weapon X facility had the moments with the Doctor. But this one, you're running from one fight to the next, with shouted threats from Nord in between. I will give the game credit though, it looks a whole lot more like the Alkali Lake we saw in X2 than it did in the Origins movie. Whatever. Wolverine goes skydiving again, tears up Nord's helicopter, takes a moment for a polite chat with Stryker.
Logan, if you go down this road, you're not going to like what you find.
After I kill Victor, I'm coming for you.
Then it's off to find Wraith, so he can find Victor. Seriously, he's had time to let this sink in and he still can't find out that Creed and Stryker are buddy-buddy? I guess I can't fault the game too much on this one because he derps out on this particular point in the movie as well, but it just seems like the game fixes so many mistakes that the movie made that when it makes the same mistakes, it just seems so much more glaring. So Logan tracks down Wraith, but he isn't at home. Or the office. Or wherever this is. Being the courteous house / office / whatever guest that he is, Logan helps himself to whatever he wants. A beer, maybe a light snack, his new voicemail. Wait, what? This is something I see a lot in movies, video games, and TV series that I just don't understand. I mean, isn't that a violation of privacy? And who still has an answering machine like this? Come to think of it, when does this take place? I mean, we just saw Logan fighting some pretty modern-looking military units and a pretty modern-looking military facility, but it has to take place before the first movie, which came out in 1999. You know what? I'm adding timelines to the list of things that I'm not even touching in comic book adaptations. I mean, I barely touched on it, and I already feel like my head's gonna explode. And I like this hat far too much to damage it. So Logan learns that Wraith has been in touch with an old military contact named Raven Darkholme, who is supposed to be dead. However, seeing as Raven is...
Raven. Raven, I asked you a question.
I don't answer to my slave name.
I like her chances just fine. Flashback time again as the gameplay continues to go a bit generic, but we get some surprisingly good exposition.
Damn it.
And a brief interaction between Logan and Victor about Raven gives a brief look into what they might have been like in happier times. The conversation may only be a couple lines long, but it's enough of a contrast with every other conversation they have had throughout the game that it gives it kind of a tragic tone. Communications with both Raven and Nord go dead. Wolverine bolts for the pair's last known location, only to find Raven standing over an unconscious Nord. Intrigue abounds as Stryker orders Logan to turn Raven into Chop Suey, a move he's not too happy with. Fortunately, that guy from the Black Eyed Peas shows up, a sentence I never thought I would utter, and subdues Darkholme, sending Logan to another tower while he finishes the job. As we hear the fatal gunshot, Logan finds the other tower and blows it up with such force he's blasted into present-ish day southwestern United States. Logan climbs inside an exhaust vent on the side of one of these big stone towers, only to find a state-of-the-art military installation inside. Seriously, at this point it seems like he can't even trip without finding some kind of military base in this game. He even finds the hatch room lost somewhere in Africa. He quickly finds that this one is a bit more advanced than the Weapon X facility he just escaped from, complete with robotic guards. As he makes his way deeper into the facility, dodging laser walls and improbably advanced robotic defenses. Seriously, when does this game take place? He stumbles upon Raven, looking much more like the Mystique we know from the movies, who informs him that, within these corridors, Wraith is being hidden. Along with a secret so dark, it's actually altered the color scheme. On his search for Wraith, Logan comes across a cheery bloke by the name of Bolivar Trask. My Tyrion, how you've grown. And darkened. Is that racist? Alright, obviously Peter Dinklage wasn't even attached to the role when this game was made, so we can't really fault him for that difference in appearance. Anyway, Bolivar demands a trial by combat, choosing his prototype Sentinel as his champion. After dispatching of the big old bot, Logan politely asks to borrow Bolivar's fingerprints, using it to gain access to a secure portion of the lab, where construction is nearly complete on a full-size Sentinel. What follows is an irrationally entertaining bit of gameplay, as Logan maneuvers a loose Sentinel hand around the facility to use for his own nefarious purposes. After blasting the ever-loving goose shit out of everything in the immediate area, an opportunity opens up to deliver a headshot to one of the full-sized fuckers. It goes down, Logan and Raven find Wraith, who is apparently boinking her.
You be careful, Miss Darkholme. That's my son you're carrying in there.
And after a brief flashback where we see that Wraith faked Raven's death, what a surprise! They both teleport out, following a forced and probably controversial statement that will surely get some fanboys' panties in a twist.
What you think of the name Kurt?
Aw, what a heartwarming end to a perfectly capable... Wrong! One of the Sentinels whose robo-brains aren't scattered over the better part of the lab wakes the fuck up and brings a fight to the surface. The Sentinel takes flight, with Logan hitching a ride, throwing him into yet another forced skydiving incident. Honestly, how many times do you have to do this before you invest in a parachute? He manages to strip away at the Sentinel bit by bit as he catches up to it, culminating in one of the all-time most badass boss kills. From here, Wraith gives Logan a tip that leads him to New Orleans, and a fast-talking card shark of a mutant named Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit. Good old Gambit is cool and rational with Logan, until he sees those generic dog tags of his, which look like pretty much any other army dog tags, and decides this is reason enough for his new bestie to die horribly. When that doesn't pan out, LeBeau bolts, leading Logan on a chase that is one of the coolest damn things I've seen in a while. You open the door to find a fight between mutants and military units already in full swing, and thus begins the chase.
I just always wanted to open a door to a room where people are being trained like in James Bond movies. Wicked. Yeah.
At no point is this abnormally high quality level interrupted by a flashback to Africa. Much like the Weapon X levels, it's allowed to play out as it goes. But unlike the Weapon X level, there's changes, it evolves, and glimpses of Gambit are frequent enough that Logan's ultimate goal always feels like the priority. It all leads to a suitably epic feeling boss fight against Gambit himself, atop a towering advertisement that LeBeau rips apart, letter by letter, trying to finally do Logan in. However, Remy has a sudden change of heart, something we see a lot of as we approach the end of the game. Our favorite card-slinging mutant agrees to point Logan in the direction of the island before disappearing from the plot forever. However, realizing that he's left us hanging for the past level, Logan decides to take one more trip into Flashback Land. Now this is where everything that we've seen in Africa comes to a head, and it could have been great with just a little bit more polish. We're finally given a glimpse into how the well-oiled machine works as a unit, with Wraith taking out some of the heavies quickly and everyone else rushing in to mop up. We see what all this carnage has been for, a chunk of adamantium. By way of playing translator, Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, aka the Merc with the Mouth, has his only couple lines in the game here, and one of his first appearances. When the answers he delivers aren't to Stryker's liking, he orders his men to kill the villager, a move that gets Logan's panties in a twist. Logan frees the man, only to have Wade gun him down. Logan is, understandably, a bit peeved by this development, and decides to leave, a move that, in the movie, seems like it comes almost out of nowhere, but here seems like a long time coming. Back in present day, for lack of a better term, Logan once again finds himself in a top-secret military facility. He slices and dices his way through elite military units and makes his way to Stryker for an oddly rushed dash for the end credits. The exchange goes, with little exaggeration, something like this.
I'm gonna kill you.
Hey look, tits.
Who are you?
I'm me.
But you're dead.
Nope.
'Kay, but I loved you.
Nope.
'Kay, this sucks.
I can erase your memories because I'm totally trustworthy.
'Kay.
Can I have my sister that has never before been mentioned back now?
Nope. Lol. I'm the villain. Victor, take her away.
I am also in this scene. I have changed my mind and would like to kill you.
Boss fight!
Now I'm going to kill you. You totally should. We are similar because we are brothers. 'Kay.
No, don't do it. You love me.
'Kay.
We have to get my sister now.
That part of the movie sucked. Hey look, it's Deadpool.
Alright, now I mentioned Deadpool earlier, and this is a point that caused a lot of complaints from fans. Deadpool is, well, is like this.
Deadpool, branded as both hero and villain. Deadpool was once a badass mercenary named Wade Wilson. After being recruited into the Weapon X program, Wade was subjected to experiments that gave him awesome regenerative powers and drove him batshit crazy. Today, the Merc with a Mouth travels the globe in search of fortune and chimichangas.
Funny guy, lots of fast-talking action. Here's what they did with him in the film and the game.
Wade, is that you?
Yeah, that's not the right character.
Make it stop!
So the fight goes about like in the movie, spanning from ground level to the top of... You know what, can we get him to stop?
Damn it, Wade!
Damn it, Wade, indeed. So Wolvie single-handedly takes out a virtually unrecognizable version of Deadpool, complete with powers Deadpool just isn't supposed to have. Seriously, if Deadpool had optic lasers, there would be no survivors. Anywhere. So Stryker decides to celebrate Logan's victory with a little party favor. To the brain. Of course, being the bad shot that he is, boring girlfriend gets hit too. As Stryker closes in for the kill shot, the girlfriend uses her loosely defined powers to make him turn the gun on himself. At the last moment, she decides that the man who has caused mutant kind untold suffering, shows no signs of stopping, and just gut-shot her isn't worth killing. Instead, she tells him to walk.
Your feet bleed.
Just walk. Walk until your feet bleed. That'll teach him for killing mutants for some twisted, failed experiment. And if the movie is to be believed, he totally does. He just keeps walking, long after he's completely out of boring girlfriend's presence. Never mind the fact that she said just before the Deadpool fight,
I didn't trick you into loving me. Even when I wasn't near you, you loved me.
No time for explanation there, though, as she wades into the water to die peacefully. Logan wakes up completely ignorant of who or where he is. God, that has to be like the worst hangover ever. I mean, you just wake up, no idea where you are, there's some big expensive looking building on fire next to you. Logan doesn't seem too bothered by it, though, as he casually walks away. And we return to the grim future we saw at the very beginning of the game. Bolivar Trask has somehow managed to capture our intrepid hero, and announces that he plans on doing some very nasty things to him. Because when I have a psychotic killer with uncharted regenerative abilities chained up, the first thing I like to do is give him a reason to immediately want to escape. Logan does just that, to the odd surprise of Mr. Trask, who runs away, sending in 2 guards to stop him, because that has totally worked in the past. Logan makes almost embarrassingly short work of them. We see a wide shot of Sentinels traipsing through a futuristic landscape, setting up for a sequel that will, unfortunately, never come. Roll credits. And that's X-Men Origins Wolverine. While not the best video game I've ever played, and not even the best in the hack-and-slash genre, it is surprisingly good. The controls are tight, the combos are easy to pull off, the story is miles ahead of the movie in most areas, and the graphics are incredibly good, especially for a movie tie-in game. Hell, the claws in the game look better than they did in most of the movie. How does that work? All in all, it's a solid gaming experience. I've played it front to back multiple times, and I plan to do it multiple times in the future. Now, on a more personal note, this is a new series. I'd love to hear what you have to say, whether it's something I did good, something I could improve on, or just a suggestion on a game I could do in the future. I don't tend to go further back than GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2, but any suggestions are much appreciated. Until next time, I'm the Geek with the Gab, and if you'll excuse me, I have some gaming to do.